What's the worst failure or setback that you've ever suffered?
I'm trying to think the worst failure or setback.
I mean, when I read
Yeah,
your wonderful book, the story of the first 10 years at Teach First, um, the first 7 or 8 chapters, it was like, this can't get any worse. Or
yeah.
it seemed like failure after setback after failure. But, your perseverance, that's another topic for later on in the conversation. But, there were plenty of setbacks, weren't there?
My wife always laughs that I look at everything in rose-colored glasses, and I do usually forget about setbacks pretty quickly once they're gone. It's funny when you ask the question, nothing pops to mind, even then when I'm thinking about all those things that we went through in our early days.
But I remember reading in the book, I think the Prime Minister sort of
Yeah,
was told about Teach First and said, there were lots of people, weren't there, who said, it'll never work, it'll never take off,
right.
graduates won't ever sign up to a scheme like this.
Yeah.
And here we are 10, 11 years later, and you're the largest recruiter of graduates in the UK.
Yeah, we're now the largest, and the Prime Minister, he was always supportive. Tony Blair was always supportive from the beginning, but quite a lot of experts didn't think it would work. We had I met the head of careers at one of the top universities in the country, and he said his university had about 5 or 6 graduates that year who went to teach in a low-income school, and almost all of them did it for religious reasons. And I said to him, well, how many do you think we can get to join this new scheme? And he said, maybe you'll be able to get 7 or 8. This year we have about 150 graduates from that school joining our program. We're the
Wow.
largest recruiter, just like we're the largest recruiter at almost all top universities now. And I think, so I don't, it's interesting, it was a setback where I think people just didn't believe it was possible. We had lots of difficulties early on. So we had, the government support didn't materialize right when we wanted it. We had funding difficulties. I had difficulties getting the right staff team together, figuring out the right culture, values, made, every mistake imaginable. But in my mind, we overcame them all. All of them were just obstacles that we just had to figure out ways around.
We all go through ups and downs, but I think I've been lucky enough too to learn quickly how to bounce back quickly from those downs and not stay in that space. And for me, every time you go through a down and bounce back up, you're learning something about yourself that can change your own life.
Have you got a technique to bounce back?
Yeah, I think it's allowing yourself first to be in that space, in that down space, and not punishing yourself when you're in that down space, and then stepping back and giving yourself perspective by having conversations with people that you feel safe with, so that you can get a better judge on what happened and why it happened, and not just through your own lens, but through their lens as well. And then taking those learnings and understandings and starting to think about, okay, what could I have done? What could I have done better here? What could I have done differently? And then lifting that up to say, how should that help me rethink my journey and my purpose? So not just staying stagnant where you were, but taking those learnings for your next step.
You said that you hadn't really been very good at, personal
Academically.
relationships.
Oh, sorry. Personal.
Personal relationships. I would have thought, though, in your business career, personal relationships, obviously of a different sort, was key to growing your business. It was very much a people business. Why do you think you had the ability to do that at work but not at home?
I'd like to think I had the ability to do it at home as well as at work, but because my vision, despite being coached by an American mentor years ago, was to have a vision for my life in total, I'm afraid what I did was just totally focus on what I wanted to achieve at work. So it was very secondary what happened at home. And what I've learnt in life is whatever you achieve, financially or materially, you can never wind the clock back. And one of the biggest regrets in my life is I never ever, or very rarely, saw my daughter get up at home other than weekends. I was never there when she went to bed, never read her a story, didn't attend school events. And you realise whatever money you make in life, you can never ever make up for that. And it's been a real lesson to me. And I see my grandchildren now once a month, come what may. And in a way, it's my guilt trying to make up for how bad I was with my own daughter.
I think we should celebrate failures, and so the idea that there is a worst failure is just bonkers to me. I'll talk about failures, but I'll celebrate my failures, and the moment that we as a society can get it as a default that failures are these things that we want to enjoy and really be passionate about, I think the world will be a better place.